there's been quite a bit happening over pre-season, perhaps a difficult tour, people wanting to leave, there's questions over where the money's gone from Andy Carroll, and perhaps a couple of difficult matches to start with as well. I mean, is it all doom and gloom for the start of the season?
I think it is. If you talk to anybody on the terraces, it just seems to have been an absolutely disastrous pre-season. You sort of think summers can't get much worse for Newcastle, but every season they come back and it's like the latest in the trilogy. It's gone even worse. I mean, you're looking at a squad now that's minus 3 of their best players from last season. I think there's only Czech Tiote, of anybody that you would have sort of said had a chance of being player of the season, who's still there. They haven't really, apart from Johan Kabay, brought in anybody that, and maybe Demba Ba, who you'd think, well, he's going to make an immediate impact. And it does look a little bit grim. But having said that, Alan Pardew's got this kind of an upbeat note today, saying that the team's younger, it's fitter, it's more mobile, it's quicker, and and he's kind of relying on that to kind of to push things forward. I mean, he's obviously in good spirits, but I mean, I don't know what you think, Stu, but I'm a little bit worried. I've got to be honest. I'm a little bit worried.
It's not been the best of summers, has it, by a long way? All the plans that they've made doesn't quite come off.
No.
A lot of the transfer targets they've looked at and seriously chased haven't come off. Which means that inevitably you're looking at second, third, fourth choices on their list, aren't you?
Yeah.
Which is not too encouraging.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's always different when the season starts, I suppose, isn't it? That's the only thing you can cling on to at the moment.
Yeah.
I've been encouraged by that. It seems that Pardew has a plan, has a tactic he wants to play in the season, and he's trying to bring those players in to fit into that. Whether it works or not, we'll soon see over the coming months. But it is quite nice. I think he has got a plan.
I heard the legendary phrase from your lips earlier that when Jose Enrique was going, he's only a left back. Sure. And I suppose that's one way to look at it. Although Jose Enrique's gone, he is only a left back. I mean, they're not. That's probably the least of the blows. I think everybody expected him to go, didn't they? That's the one thing. That's the one thing you would say. I don't think this is too much of a blow, and he hasn't played much of a part in pre-season either.
No, I mean he's a very good player, and ideally I would like him to stay in the squad. I think most fans probably would, wouldn't they? Yeah. But how many left backs win titles? If we're going to I would like to get a bit more money from him, I think. But again, he's got the last year of his contract, so. The question is, you have to reinvest the money, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the one problem. That is the one thing that Newcastle haven't been able to answer. They've been able to kind of back every accusation about Andy Carroll, every accusation about Kevin Nolan. They've had an answer and said, well, look, Kevin Nolan wanted too much money. We're not going to pay a 33-year-old 65 grand a week, which we've gone down that route before. Andy Carroll, it was an unbelievable amount of money, and to be honest, he hasn't gone anywhere close to justifying that in the 6 months where he's been at Liverpool so far. And also, Jose Enrique wanted to go. Fine, excuses for all those three. But where's the money? Where has the money been spent? And I've spoken to agents who've told me that generally it's 5% is what they take. So it's not gone necessarily just on agent fees.
No,
it's not gone on transfer fees yet. Where has it gone?
I mean, Aston Villa sold Stuart Darwin straight away, bought Charles Nzogby.
Yeah.
Not with the whole amount of money, but they reinvested some of the cash in a similar situation, didn't they? Whereas Newcastle really, and now in theory are in credit, aren't they? In the summer.
I think the problem I have is that nobody has been able to give an answer. If there was somebody who came out in the summer and said, here's where the money's gone, this is, and I know Alan Pardew has tried, and I know, but really Alan Pardew is responsible for team matters. Really, you need someone from the board level or above to come out and explain that, and explain it publicly on record, and then you would take away a lot of the kind of criticism that you've got, a lot of the kind of ill feeling that you would have got, and you could maybe look forward to talking about a football season, which doesn't ever seem to be the case with Newcastle. I mean, we're 2 days away from the start of the season, and I can't remember anybody talking about the Arsenal game really.
Completely, this should be a massive game, Arsenal at home, especially remember what happened last year, and as you say, it's been completely overshadowed. I think Alan Pardew's come out this summer with a little bit of credit. Actually, he's conducted himself as he always has quite well, trying to remain positive and upbeat. And it's not his job, as you say, to explain the club's finances, is it?
Yeah, no. I mean, I just look at. I was doing a piece for the Sunday Sun 2 weeks ago, and said 5 years ago, Sunderland had Roy Keane, Newcastle had Alan Shearer, and they were starting with Kevin Keegan was in charge. I mean, we've had all these star names. There's just a real lack of star quality in the Newcastle team. Do you think that's going to be a problem?
It's an unknown quantity, because if they start well and start winning games, then that's the fact that there's no star name necessarily might generate quite a good team spirit. Of course, if things don't go well, who do they look for inspiration? Who's going to pick up the baton and lead the team and say, who's going to be a Shearer who might get you a goal if things are going badly?
Those signings, what does it suggest about where Newcastle want to head. Because I mean, Morveau, he's meant to be a great player, but he was a Liverpool cast-off really because he didn't pass his medical.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they've always maintained that it wasn't a medical issue. It was just that Liverpool wouldn't pay the money in this. But well, the signings that they've brought in are actually good. There's just not enough of them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Obertan, I have my reservations about him, but I think you talk about Manchester United players who come from Manchester United, and I think maybe if you get a chance against the kind of Crawley Town in the FA Cup as he did last year, and that's your one chance to shine. Yeah. It's very difficult to do that at Man United. I remember Danny Welbeck a couple of years ago had a really poor season for Man United where he was getting one or two opportunities every 3 months, and it's difficult for that. So Obertan, yeah, got a few question marks about him. The others have looked fine. They're good players. It's just there's not enough of them. I think what those signings say is that we're going to try and look for value in the market. You know, we're going to try and look for more Tiotis, which is always what they said. My problem is that the striker issue was the one thing that they had to sort out, and they've had all that time. And I've spoken to people within the club who are frustrated at the fact that Newcastle have tried to play hardball on a lot of these targets. Melville Erding was keen to sign for Newcastle United, but they wouldn't pay $10.5 million for him. Yeah. They were only prepared to pay $7.5. So for the sake of $3 million, you haven't got the player that you've been looking at for so long. Gervinho wouldn't sign for them, and they didn't really fancy him in the end. Kevin Gamero wouldn't sign for them. He would have been a fantastic signing. Erding was the third choice, but still a good player. And they messed it up. To be honest with you, the way that they negotiated the deal was unfortunately didn't do them any favours. And it's going to be a problem if they're not prepared to pay the money. You're not going to get the players that you want to. Do
you think he'll play with two strikers?
Yeah, I think he'll play with Shola and Demba-Ba on Saturday. I think that's all the indications are. I mean, every time they've played together, that's kind of what he's done. Will it work? Demba-Ba's a good player. He hasn't looked fantastic in pre-season, to be honest with you. Shola's not looked brilliant either, but it doesn't really mean a lot.
No.
They've got a lot of physical presence. Have they got the mobility? Maybe, but they've got players running in behind them, and Cabaye will be a big player. I think he looks very good. He looks very good.
It's going to be difficult to gauge against Arsenal, to be fair.
Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Unless they win handsomely, which I don't think too many people are.
No. I think getting something out of the game would be a start. Another draw or something. But Arsenal aren't in great shape.
No, that's true. That's very true.
No, so I mean, the final question, I suppose, is: where do you expect them to finish? What's your?
I'm not one of the doom merchants who thinks it's going to be a relegation battle.
No.
Purely because I think there will be weaker teams than Newcastle this season. That's necessarily a good thing, is it?
Yeah.
I can't see them improving on last year's position, however, though.
No.
Taking a top 10 position should be seen as a success.
Yeah. I think top 10 would be Top 10 would be fantastic. Yeah. It depends who the striker is that they bring in. If they can bring somebody in, a Daniel Sturridge or somebody of that ilk, then you're starting to think this is a team. This is a team that could actually do something. If your striker's Grant Holt, let's start worrying. But I don't think that's going to happen. So no, I think it'll be sort of between 10th and 15th. Is my sort of my thinking.